Hello, this is Amanda Armstrong, business librarian with Arapahoe Libraries. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to find the consumer spending and the Nielsen consumer buying power data and how you can use it. So I've already got a comparison table set up with a number of cities in the Denver Aurora Metro. I'm going to remove the US by left clicking on it and remove from this report. And you'll see I just have some basic variables that can help us provide context for this type of data. So to get to this data, rather than using any of the categories, I'm going to go to data folders. And so you'll see that the first one we can look at is the consumer expenditure estimates. This is actually data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. They have both interviews and diaries kept by households to get a statistical sample of how much money people are spending on different types of products and services. So let's say, for instance, that you were opening up a clothing store and it was going to cater towards women. And so you wanted to know how much women spent or households spent on dresses, coats and jackets, sweaters, shirts and tops, and skirts. So we could select those from here. And then if we go back to our table, you'll now see that we have these, what seems like relatively small numbers in this day and age. And I really like to tell people it's very important to remember these consumer spending estimates, since they're averaged out over all of the households that are doing this, some of which that may not have anyone who would buy women's clothing, these numbers are always going to be low. They are much better for using as a comparison tool. So, for example, we can look here and see that, wow, Littleton is actually spending the most money. People in Littleton are spending the most money on coats and jackets, as well as on, oh, actually, Littleton is ahead in some of them, and Centennial is ahead in others. So, these are great for comparisons. And I do want to mention a heat map can be an excellent way to use this type of data because it can help you start to zone in on locations you might want to consider as hotspots. But going back to our comparison table, this is the consumer spending, the straight data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Now, we're very lucky, and we also have available to us the consumer buying power data from Nielsen. And so this is somewhat similar in that we can go and find very similar types of values. And I did not prepare ahead of time, so this will be just a teeny bit exciting. So clothing stores. So now we can see that we can do average CPB women's clothing stores. I wonder if we can do expenditures and everybody, let's explore with Amanda as she learns how things work. Hmm. Apparel and services, women and girls. Here we go. So we can find the same types of categories. And you'll see that I'm always selecting average. Now, why is that? It's because the other value is the total for that area. So I just selected one of them so you can see how wacky that data is. Now I imagine there are uses for it, but if you're a small business owner who's trying to understand where you might want to put your shop or what zip codes or census tracts you might want to target, these gigantic numbers, I don't think they're very helpful. So I'm going to left click on this and remove it from the report. And so now you'll see, so this is different. Average consumer buying power. What is this? Well, if you want to find the information on that data, you can come up here to the support button in the top right and go into data documentation. And if you scroll on down to nearly the bottom, you'll find it. But I have pulled up two of the most helpful things. So first off, you can find a methodology document. And so this will tell you that, in fact, this data is put together by Nielsen using both the consumer spending interviews as well as the diary, tracking the 2 weeks. And they are apparently building very sophisticated data models using regressions and data over a 5 year period to calculate this consumer buying power data. So this is enhanced data. Now, does that mean it's good for everything? No, it is still not good for everything. So I think the last slide in their overview is the most useful thing you'll find. So you'll see it has best uses, understanding spending habits, projecting future spending habits, ranking markets. Now that's what I'm talking about, comparing different cities or different zip codes or even different states. And finally, analyzing services. So what types of stores are getting the most? And then trending. I would be really careful because we don't have different years to compare and not a good use. As I said, very bad for estimating what people will actually spend and also bad for estimating geographically where people are spending their money because let's be honest, I will drive somewhere to buy good clothes. I don't just immediately go to the city I live in because it's the city I live in, but my money, like my spending, is going to be tracked to the city I'm living in. So, very important things to consider. I will talk about retail market power in a future report. I think the consumer buying power is the more interesting and the more important one for most of the small business owners I work with. And so, as you've seen today, you start out just like usual, you build up your chart, you get your different values, and then you come here into the data folders and you've got consumer expenditures from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And then under premium data, we've got consumer buying power from Nielsen. So I hope that's helpful. In the next slide, you can find QR codes that will link you to my other training videos if you're just getting started with Simply Analytics and need to learn how to get logged in with your Arapahoe Libraries card, how to create these tables, and how to create heat maps. Have a great day. Thanks for watching.